Hello everybody, how y'all doing? I want to go over a brief video. Well, I'm going to say it's very brief, but it's a story about decision making and in my life. Now, I know everybody here may like statistics, and I'm going to go over a little statistics as well. And I also want to give the timeline of how my high school career was, and my military career, and how things have gone now. And now, without ado, when I was growing up in high school, things were different. I was in high school. We had a sophomore campus, and we also had a high school that housed sophomore to senior. Now, during that time, we had a thing. We had 2,100 sophomores come into high school when I was coming up. 2,100 high school students, high school sophomores at the time. Now, with that said, our school wasn't perfect. My high school wasn't perfect at all. We had a huge dropout rate, and they gave us this piece of paper and showing how the school was. And during that time, we had a huge dropout rate. The school was majority Hispanic and some whites and blacks as well. And I don't know the whole math, but they gave us this piece of paper, and I think it was every 100 students or every 50 students, there was a 6% drop rate for Hispanics, 4% drop rate for blacks, and a 1% for whites. So with that said, during that time, when I hit my junior year, there was less than half. So we had about 900 juniors. Now, I'm not saying that all of them dropped out. I'm not saying that happened, but some relocated. It was a very small town. But don't get me wrong, the high school is still there today. It's still a good city. It's thriving. It's even growing even to this day, but it's more far west. That's why nobody goes. This is Texas, so mostly people are more far east than anything. So with that said, when I got to my senior year in high school and I walked that stage, there was only 600 seniors that graduated. So you do the math. It went all the way from 2,100 to 600 seniors graduating. You know, the thing is, you know, the more you progress, the less and less you see. And I don't know everybody's story or whatever, but all I know is the people who joined the military, there was only about 15, between 15 people joined the military, about 8 8 including me, about 7 that I actually knew. So with that said, I did not join the military straight off the bat, and that's understandable. What I did, I ended up working some odd jobs. I worked at a grocery store, and then I worked at a fast food joint. And I worked there for a year and a half. I felt as multiple times, and I was like, I'm giving up. I'm not going to do this ever again. So with that said, I turned around and had I was kind of down on myself and things of that nature, and I try to focus things in a different light. And with that said, I ended up just working a regular job. I got hours when I could, but then again, this was the 90s, so the cost of living wasn't high as it is now. And with that said, my father said, you have so much potential and stuff like that. And unfortunately, with the place I was working, he was also an ex-military. There was an Air Force base there. He retired, long story short. So with that said, I was encouraged to go back to the recruiting office. And when I was encouraged to go back to the recruiting office, they said, why don't you go ahead and retake the ASVAB again? Now, this has already been a year and a half. I just kind of given up on it in that light. But I didn't let that stop me. I kept going, and I kept studying. And then after I studied, they said, you need to come in and take it. So I went to this National Guard Armory, and I get there. And I felt kind of confident. I said, I'm going to walk in there, and I'm going to pass it. They got the test. The guy already got the results. You passed. You're going to get in. A week later, I was going to MEPS, the one in Dallas. It's still there. And so, long story short, I went there, passed the physical, and they said, you're in. We got this job for you. It was field artillery. I never knew anything about field artillery when I was growing up, or anything about the military as far as when I was in ROTC. So, long story short, I got there and they told me, you have a week to leave. I thought they were going to give me a month. They did. I went there Went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And with that said, I went there, and when I got there, there were a lot of people there. There was more men than women. I didn't expect that. And totally, it was like night and day from like anything I've ever been in. So long story short, we got there. There is over 300 some people there. By week 4 and week 5, the drill sergeants came up to you and started talking a lot of trash. They're saying, you don't want to be a recycle. Recycle means that you go all the way back to, start way back at the bottom, at the very bottom. With that said, when I turned around and at week 4 or 5, and every day we had a different task. We had to knock it out. We had to just boom, boom, boom. And then you had to keep up with your PT. But you want to keep up with your PT, then that's the reason that they recycled you. So I had to work extra hard to keep on PT. I hadn't done PT since I left high school. When I left basic training, I was at the peak of my game. I actually worked hard to keep in the military. Like I said before, when we got to our basic training unit, we was 300 people. By the time I left there, there was only less than 150. And that's reality. And I'm not trying to, discourage anybody from not joining the military. The military is not for everybody. And that's why when doing the basic training, they had to weed to the people who wanted to be there, who didn't want to be there. And I told them I really wanted to be there. And when I left basic training, the drill sergeant looked me in the eye and said, I never thought that you would walk down this stage. So I must have been proud. Okay, when my first duty station, when I first got there, it was just the same thing. It was a fast-paced environment. We were going to California, which is NTC. If you're some people Army, they know what that is. And unfortunately, I thought I was going to stay there and re-enlist. Unfortunately, we had other plans. I got a program. I got this piece of paper and I opened it and I said, I'm going to the Republic of Korea. Never knew anything about Korea. I was on that plane going to Korea. Different change. We ran every day. It was a different army. We ran every single day. Totally different. And then I came back. And that was when I was in the military. We went to school. We had to go with, it was called PODC. I went to PODC, and they were supposed to house 600 people. The first time I went there was a 50% dropout rate. I failed the standardized test. They brought me back to my unit. So I was always a little bit hurt. I was hurt. I was upset. Came back and went to the promotion board the next time. Okay. I went and I passed the standardized test. Failed the land portion. They brought me back. Okay. It wasn't until my second time, which was when I went to Germany and went back. Well, they would change the name. I'm not sure what what it is for E5 school. I'm sure that the names have changed. I went and I passed it the third time around, and I'm 85 for the first time. So it was being consistent, okay. And when I went to the E6 school, it was more specific. There was 35 people there. I ended up there was 28 by the time I left. And the thing is, the more you progress in the military, the less and less it gets. And yes, there's some people, high school students, there will be about 15 people to join the military. And I would say there's about either 1 or 2 that does over 20 years. And that's the bottom line. Now, I'm not saying that deterred any of you from joining the military. The military has always been great to me. It's been good, but the military is not for everybody. I saw some people join the military and they only did 1 tour, which they did only 1 tour, they only did 1 enlistment. And that's understandable. And I'm not saying that they were bad for only doing 1 tour. They had children and they had the obligations. But you have to realize the more you progress in the military, the less people are at the top. It's like the pyramid effect. There's the lower enlisted at the bottom, the hierarchy at the top. And if you want to progress, you have to be hungry. And that's what I've shown in my career and my job, is you have to be hungry. You have to be consistent. There's one person that told me to give the best advice. I'll leave you here with the best advice. If you want to excel in the military, you got to do these 3 things. Show up on time in the right uniform, and also have a positive attitude. That's how you make it in the military. And that's how I made it in the military for 20 years. And And I'm sure that everybody here can do the exact same thing, what I'm talking to you about. If you have it, if you have a goal, if you have the potential, you have to keep being consistent. Don't be a member of statistics, because unfortunately they said that I will probably never make it in the military. I didn't listen to those people. When people said I would never make E5, I would never make E6, I would never do that. If I had listened to them, I probably wouldn't have never made it and just taken their advice. But I kept putting my head down. Don't listen to the odds, don't listen to the statistics, and keep being consistent. And that's what you have to do in your life. You got to defy the odds. You got to say, I'm not that person. I'm not going to be a victim of statistics. I'm going to be consistent in everything that I do. And if you really want it, you have to go and get it. You have to go and show that I'm going to get it. And everybody, we all have obstacles. We all have goals in our life, but we also have obstacles. And the only way, if you want to get to your goal, you have to go through the barriers. You got to go through those obstacles. You can either go around it or you can go through it, but you have to go through it. And being consistent is the key. And I hope that I've helped somebody. I hope that you will listen and take in heed, because I wasn't supposed to graduate high school, but I did, by the grace of God, if you believe. But I know that's a little getting off subject, but I know everybody here can do it. And I know that, just don't say that I don't want to be the majority. You be that 1%. You have to show the discipline. You have to be consistent in everything that you do and defy the odds. Get up every day with a positive attitude, knowing that you can knock out any task that you put your mind to, and you can do it. If you can do it, if you can make small goals, and later progress to bigger goals. I know you can do it, because I've been a living testimony myself. And this is Henry.